everyone. Instead of having a regular podcast at the regular time, we just wanted to have a moment where we take just a few minutes to talk about this devastating fire that happened to Notre Dame de Paris. Because for all of us medievalists, or at least many of us medievalists, this is a building that had a huge significance to us in our study, in our personal lives and experiences. So we wanted to just take a few minutes and talk about Notre Dame today, and then we will have our regular podcast as usual coming out this week. So Peter Konieczny is here with me from medievalist.net. So we're going to talk a little bit about this fire, how it happened, and why this building is such an important one. So Peter, you came across this story very early on, much sooner than I did. So where did you come across it?
I came up quickly on social media. In this kind of age of Twitter and age of Periscope, people starting to put the information up very quickly of spotting the fire. The authorities say the fire started at about 6:50 local time, 6:50 p.m. local time. It started on the roof. The early investigations has kind of pointed to be an accident. There is a lot of reconstruction going on right now at Notre Dame, particularly in the roof area, and they do not believe it's arson or any kind of foul play involved, but a kind of a simple accident that kind of started it up. The news, again, kind of really quickly spread, and we were covering on medievalist.net today the kind of horrific kind of scenes. I guess the worst one was seeing the spire collapse, which happened fairly early on, probably within about an hour of the fire starting. We don't have all the reports in yet, and this is still right now night in Paris, so it'll be until we kind of daylight, we won't have a full understanding of all the damage. But we could say that it seems the entire interior has been gutted, while the outer kind of walls, the towers have been preserved, and that's a lot thanks to kind of a lot of heroic efforts by over 400 firefighters that were on scene. They actually, there was a fire that the fire actually had moved into one of the two towers on the front facade, and there was a real worry that it would cause one of the bells to kind of collapse and actually take down the entire tower. But luckily that didn't happen. We have also got reports that much of the artifacts within that are kept in the cathedral have been saved. These are like the crown of thorns of Jesus and a cloak worn by Louis VII, things like that. They were rescued. But there are other kind of reports that maybe not all the other items were saved. There were many paintings, for example, within the cathedral, and there was reports that it was a challenge for firefighters to remove them. We also have reports that all the kind of glass, medieval stained glass, has been destroyed. As of right now, people are kind of taking stock of the situation. There will be kind of investigations. I think the best thing we can say is that no one has died in this. Everyone was able to escape the fire. We have there's so far no reports of any fatalities. Right now there is report that one firefighter has had severe injuries from that, but that's unconfirmed as of this moment right now.
Yeah, that's something to be thankful for sure, because not only is Notre Dame in the middle of the Ile de la Cité, so right in the middle of Paris, but also it has millions of visitors every year. So the fact that no one was injured is just amazing and great news. So for people that are not really familiar with Notre Dame, aside from maybe the Disney movie or the gargoyles, Notre Dame is a cathedral that was built, started in the 12th century. And many of the aspects of that building are medieval, Gothic style, especially. So we have really great architectural details on that seem to still be standing, which is fantastic. The firefighters chose not to use too much water because they were afraid that it would collapse the building by overloading the stone. But it seems that we have lost the rose windows, which Peter was talking about. Those windows are from the 14th century, if I have that right. And they survived 2 world wars, and to have them lost to fire right now, it's devastating, I think, for all of us who are interested in history or just interested in Paris or just interested in beauty. For me, losing the rose windows is heartbreaking. It's awful.
Yeah, it's. I think like anyone that kind of has this, love of medieval history or love of history, or the kind of beauty of these kind of churches, will be really sad tonight. I think we should, keep in mind that like tomorrow, the reconstruction begins. President Emmanuel Macron of France has already gave a speech saying this cathedral will be rebuilt. That they will be looking for national and international funds to restore it. UNESCO has promised their support. There are already campaigns online. And we're going to try and get you kind of links because there's like various kind of GoFundMe's, Kickstarter kind of campaigns. A lot of these are kind of impromptu. I'd like to kind of direct people to more kind of official channels. And we'll try and get you that kind of information as soon as possible. So,
Yeah. It's something that has really had an impact on the whole world. If you just look at social media, you see people all over the world who have visited the cathedral or just planned to visit or just saw it as a beautiful part of Paris. And to see some of those images of this cathedral burning in the center of town it's heartbreaking. And Peter, you were there last year, weren't you?
Yeah, I had a chance to visit. I was in Paris. I had a chance, and it was, of course, like the most important thing on my kind of list of places to see. It's I'm not a particularly spiritual person, but I find it a very kind of spiritual thing to be in the presence of this building and its the great history of it. I took in a mass and kind of just stayed at the kind of corner of it, just kind of to watch not just the mass but the people around, to get a flavor of how this building has been used for centuries as a place of worship, a place of congregation. And a place where history is kept and history is also made. You have everything there from this beautiful statue of Joan of Arc. You have, the incredible kind of details in the carvings, from the organs to just the windows to just kind of the atmosphere of everything. It's something you as a medievalist, it's very much that holy ground.
Yes, absolutely. And that's important to point that out because for me as a historian, this is a building that has a whole lot of history to it. But this is an important building for Christians in that it is a place where people are still going for Mass every week, a regular congregation. And this is Holy Week for Christians. And so this is especially devastating for them. So it's important to remember that congregation who always going there. And for me, that was kind of one of the moving things about going to Notre Dame, because I went there as well. And I didn't realize until I went in there that they had priests in special locations that would speak different languages, so that if you came sort of as a pilgrim to Notre Dame from somewhere and you didn't speak French, you didn't speak English, you could still confess your sins to a priest who would speak your language. And that sort of outreach is an important part of Notre Dame's personality in the modern age. And I think that's an important thing to remember.
Yeah, this is a place that draws in people from around the world, for people that, people of faith, people that love history, people that, just love the vibe of it, people that are there to make money by doing shows for you on the outside, people, just kind of this. But I find it is a beautiful kind of place that does draw in all sorts of people for all sorts of reasons, and I hope it still does that. And, it might tomorrow people will still converge on that location. Many with tears, many incredibly sad, but hopefully, even tonight, there were people as close as possible to the cathedral, praying and singing Ave Maria, and kind of, sending good vibes to the firefighters. So I don't think that this place is going to be abandoned. I don't think it's going to be forgotten. So, and I am really hopeful that we can very soon start seeing the efforts on making this a whole structure again.
Yeah. Well, it's the heart of the city. It really is. And I think it's apt that you said that it draws you in, because for me, I was visiting Paris and I had arrived kind of the night in the evening and gone to my hostel, and I was drawn there by the bells because I was pretty close to it. And I thought, well, I'm not going to look at the whole cathedral. It was not open at that time for tourists, but I wanted to walk over and see it. So I walked over and the doors were open and there was light spilling out into this Parisian evening, and there was sound spilling out of it. And it was a gospel choir from Africa. I want to say from Ghana, but I might have that wrong. But a gospel choir, and the sound echoing through that cathedral was so moving. And it was really just a moment for me that I will never forget, because you could really get a sense of that, sort of that drawing you in, of that community, and of that making kind of a joyful noise in this building being used for what it was meant for, and that is community and celebration and all of those things. And I don't think it's going to lose that, for sure. I think that Parisians and people from all over the world are going to keep coming back and make sure that it's built back to its glory, even if it's not going to be exactly the same. I mean, we do know that it's been restored several times, but it's still difficult to watch that sort of destruction. I think that it will be rebuilt very faithfully, and that word actually works very well in a lot of ways, but faithfully in that it's been photographed and it's been scanned so thoroughly that it should be an easier task now more than ever to try and rebuild this to its former glory, which is, again, something to be thankful for sure.
Yeah, I think, like us medieval historians, we try to do a good work at, remembering this building and studying and researching it. I can imagine that they could, look at all, take out all these books of, the minute architectural details that historians have been doing for decades, and say we can make it look exactly like it was, and that's one thing at least we can look forward to.
Yes, and before we go further, I do want to definitely commend and appreciate the firefighters that have worked so hard to save that building, because they did it in a way that was very conscientious. They made sure that nobody was hurt, and they really should should get a lot of respect from everyone across the world for the way they handled that. So hats off to those firefighters. Really appreciate the work that they've done, and that firefighters always do for us. But we really appreciate them today for sure.
Yeah, thank you to everyone out there, and thank you to like the French officials. I know from what I've seen is like even reports of like the Louvre is kind of assisting in the repairs of the kind of items and removal. So I think we'll see a lot of how the French people react and meet the challenge of this disaster.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, this is a very special building. It's close to all of our hearts. I think it's this day has really touched a lot of us. And so I'm looking forward to the efforts that people make when we pull together and come together in the face of this tragedy, because it is a tragedy. So, Peter, you're going to keep people updated on medievalists.net?
Yeah, we'll have some news reports, and we'll look also on kind of Twitter. This is making international headlines, so I think any kind of media that you kind of turn to, you will see something to kind of come along. We'll keep you as much as we can to tell you about ways to, if you're interested in kind of supporting the efforts to rebuild this, or find out ways you can help. We'll kind of try and pass along places and web kind of organizations that can do a lot of good on that.
Right. So you can find out more information by going to medievalists.net or following you right on Facebook or Twitter at medievalists.
Yep.
And then you'll have all that information for people, right?
That's great. I'll try my best. So thanks.
Yeah, good. Okay. Well, thanks everyone for listening to us. We hope that you're well, that you're taking care of yourself. This was a devastating blow for our community today, and I hope that everyone is taking good care of themselves. Thanks.